Hi, everyone. I'm Steven Sigman.
And I'm Mike Messinio.
And this is the Weekly Movie Throwdown, a conversation show where each week we dig into a film that fits our overall monthly theme. This week we're rounding out Stories from the Gridiron Month at long last with a currently in theaters film. It's Him from director Justin Tipping. I'll tell you, Mike, this month has felt like 6 months to me.
Love football movies, and yes, this felt like a pretty long month. I'm not gonna lie, but I think the order that we've done the movies in has actually been pretty good. Because Any Given Sunday into Him feels like a pretty good transition, and a good way to end the month with just going to full horror mode in terms of football. So.
Yeah, I think we were headed there last week, and I have some thoughts on that. But before we get into the film, do you have any news stories you want to bring up this week?
Yeah, just two quick things. So we're not going to talk about the whole Jimmy Kimmel thing because that's not our podcast. I don't think it's crazy to say we support free speech because we're American and support it for all. That's it. But that's not the point. Point is, they get the announcement after this indefinite suspension that he's coming back. They announced Monday that he's coming back Tuesday, right? And so, that no one knew how or when he was coming back. But for me personally, who is a Hulu live TV subscriber, so the morning after they announced that Jimmy Kimmel's coming back, I get an email that my subscription is going up like $22.
Yeah.
And not to be cynical, but I can't imagine that those two things are not connected. Because you know that they've had that price increase coming. I think the minute that they launched that ESPN app and we're charging $30 a month for it, that they were already knowing they were gonna increase everything across the board, right? So you kind of felt that might be coming, but this thing doesn't get announced in a vacuum. They know when they're going to announce the increase, so they have probably had that in the can for weeks. And don't you think it's highly coincidental that the same day Jimmy Kimmel comes back, they announce an increase? And I can't imagine that they didn't know that getting into a fight like that while you were telling people they were going to be paying a decent amount more, and when people were already canceling their subscriptions, wasn't going to be problematic. So I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but if I put on my cynicism hat, that feels very coincidental to me. Very, very not coincidental.
Well, my thinking is that maybe they needed to offset some of the legal fees they're going to have now because, if they're standing with Kimmel and not backing down to Dear Leader, then I think it's probably going to end up in court. And that's a joke. I don't think that's what it is, but yeah, I didn't even connect.
Because I have Hulu. Definitely the minute I saw it, it connected for me because I'm like, wow. And just as a side note, I've been a Disney Plus subscriber for a long time, like from jump, because I have kids and that's the law. So I've been Disney Plus subscriber. So last year they increased it to like from 120 to 150 a year, right? And this year they announced that they're increasing it again from 150 to 180. So we're talking, I'm not great at math, but that's more than 50%, like a 50% increase, about 50% in 2 years that they've increased that. And again, this just goes into what we've been talking about streaming being not sustainable and the pricing getting all out of whack now. But that's a pretty huge increase.
I think it's going to move people back to cable. I mean, you can get, can't you get some of these things as like an add-on to cable now? Like Netflix, isn't there a Netflix channel? And it's out of hand.
We're going to
I'm looking forward to getting rid of most of those things in November, like I talked about last week.
We're going to end up where we started, just with a bunch of bundles of this very stuff. It's going to be like cable anyway. But I just had to laugh at the Hulu thing. So I thought it was worth mentioning. The only other thing I wanted to mention is I was at my dad's house a few days ago and saw on Netflix that Ice Road Vengeance had just dropped on Netflix. Ice Road Vengeance is the sequel to Ice Road, the 2021 movie with Liam Neeson. And so Ice Road Vengeance popped up, And it came out this year, and I had no idea this movie existed. Apparently, it came out in a select number of theaters, and then it's on Netflix already. I think it came out in July. The reason I bring this up is that my dad, my 80-year-old dad, was super excited to see there was a sequel to Ice Road because he loved Ice Road. And I just want to make sure that we know that we can talk about Jason Statham and anybody else, but the true GOAT of dad movies is and will always be Liam Neeson, because my dad was super excited about Ice Road Vengeance.
I was going to say, is Liam Neeson like your dad's generation's Gerard Butler?
And I guess so. That's what I mean. You know, we talk about all these other people, but Liam Neeson is still there, and to the older generation, he is still their guy. So I'm sure he watched that already and was super excited to do it.
Man, he's still getting it done. That's amazing. I wasn't going to talk about it, but I watched The Naked Gun this week, the new Akiva Schaffer film, and Liam Neeson's solid in it. I mean, he's, for as like action oriented as he is, he's very funny. And I mean, the material here or there, but he did a great job in it. And it's interesting to see a reboot of something with someone who's 80 years old, kind of a different direction. So, it was fun just to watch him. I mean, I don't know if I recommend it, but yeah, from the Ice Road to The Naked Gun, Liam Neeson is covering all the bases.
Yeah, so he can go off and do his Naked Guns and everything else, but you know, his meat and potatoes work of the old man of vengeance will never die.
Yeah, he puts one of those out like every year, doesn't he? I mean, there are so many that all seem the same in that straight to streaming realm, that because I don't know if like The Marksman or whatever it was in movie theaters, but you know, you always see them pop up on Netflix. So that's good for him. Still getting it done. The only news story I have is this thing with Jessica Chastain and Apple that I want to talk about. I mean, you talked about Jimmy Kimmel, and I think this kind of ties to that, because the story is that there's an upcoming series called The Savant that Apple Plus is putting out, and it stars Jessica Chastain as somebody who basically infiltrates violent groups to prevent violence. It's almost like Minority Report or something a little bit. Like it's like pre-crime. And it was decided by Apple that they're not going to put it out, at least for now, because it's a little too close to home with the political violence that's happening. And she put in a statement on Instagram saying that like she does not agree with that. And in the time they've been making, it took them 5 years to make this. She just runs down all of the political violence that has happened in that time, from like Paul Pelosi to 300 school shootings to the representatives in Minnesota. And then I assume this is like on the back of Charlie Kirk, and Apple just wanting to kind of say, we're not going to support anything that focuses on that kind of violence to appease dear leader. Because if you look at it from a content perspective, like what does Apple care? You know, they're not bound by FCC rules. They don't have to deal with the same stuff that ABC has to deal with, but they are, you know, affected by tariffs on making phones and things like that. So it's kowtowing again, which is seems to be happening.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to square that, because if you're going to wait to release this show when there's no violence, then the show's never going to come out. I mean, there will probably never be a week, let alone a month, where there's nothing terrible happening in terms of violence where you would want.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens, but I mean, I was kind of looking forward to it. I really like her, and I saw the trailer for it. It looked really interesting. And by the way, one battle after another comes out today, and that is filled with political violence. So I think Apple's decision to, you know, shelf it because of that doesn't really jive.
Does this mean again that we are giving a kudos to Zaslav for putting out a politically charged movie in a politically charged environment? Wow.
No, man, what a year.
I know.
What a year. Building up the brand to sell it off.
It's been crazy.
Pretty interesting. All right. Well, that's it for news. Let's move on to our film for this week, talking about this year's Him from Justin Tipping. What are your initial thoughts on this? Because I think we're going to align on it.
So my initial thoughts were the original title of this movie was actually Goat. And I'm trying to figure out if Goat would have been a better title than Him. Although if they named it Goat, I mean, maybe people would have thought it was about Liam Neeson. I don't know. But yeah, I get why Him is used and it's in the movie. But I kind of like the idea of it being called Goat, which was the original title. But that's neither here nor there. In terms of the movie, I have to say I feel mixed about it because for the most part, I really like the first two acts in a lot of ways. I thought it was okay. Like I thought the imagery was really striking. I thought the use of the desert was really well done. It was a really nice, it was a good looking movie, and I'm sure that you'll probably speak about that. But I thought it was a striking movie in terms of the visuals, and I but you know what? It reminded me of The Cell in some ways. Remember that movie where I like to look at it, but when I tried to get too deep into the center of it, there wasn't that much there in a way. But it was nice to look at. But I feel like the third act of Him was not great. It kind of hurt the movie for me because I think that it was trying to make a specific point in some ways, and I appreciate the effort and I think about it, but then it takes a turn into something else and tries to make a larger point, and that point to me falls apart.
That's an interesting take. Before I tell you my thoughts, I should just tell people what it's about. It's about Cameron Cade, who is an up and coming college football player who suffers an attack on his way to the combine, which I guess in the NFL is like kind of a proving ground and gets you in front of potential teams that want to draft you. And he's told not to go to the combine instead, but he does, right? He goes to the combine and is offered a chance to train with Isaiah White, who is the GOAT, as they say. He's a quarterback for the San Antonio Saviors. I mean, like very overt, just so much overtness in this. But he goes to train at Isaiah White's compound in rural Texas. And it quickly becomes kind of a nightmare where the training proves to him that there's a lot more to becoming the GOAT than just athletic performance. So for me,
so I think we're going to just jump in and say, spoiler alert, if you haven't seen Him, because there's really no way to talk about this movie without talking about the movie. So for those who haven't seen it, you just have to kind of go with it, I guess.
I think most of it's kind of given away, honestly, and in the trailers.
I was going to say that as well, which I think that the trailers didn't do a great service to this movie because a lot of the thrilling parts in it were kind of given away.
It's completely predictable. I mean, you said you like the first two acts, and to me, that feels like there's nothing there. It's just like training, you know. It really was flat for me.
Well, maybe because I like training. I always loved me a good training montage, and I appreciated the training. So what I appreciated, and I will say, I guess after seeing the third act, I liked Act 1 and 2 in comparison, right? I mean, again, I thought it was fairly predictable and fine. But I give more rope to this kind of stuff. And again, like I get the swings they were trying to make. And I did appreciate the message of, you know, what are you willing to sacrifice to be great? You know, and what does it do to you? Like, I liked that idea. And again, we talked about doing Any Given Sunday. And in a way, this does kind of carry from that. It's just this idea of, you know, what are you willing to sacrifice? And how far are you willing to go to be great? And I liked that idea of it. I think that in itself is a movie worth exploring, because I do think in this day and age, when you're specializing from the time that you're 9, that there's a lot to that. And I like the idea of his father pushing him into being great. And I would have loved to see more about that. Like, I think there was something good in all of that stuff that was worth exploring. What I didn't expect was them to veer into this insane science fiction uh, horror thing, making it so mystical. And like, I really, really think that was a misstep and takes it into a realm that just deflates the whole thing.
Surprised that that was unexpected for you. That's maybe it's because I watch so much horror, but that is like clearly what's laid out in the trailer for me. I think there's so much imagery in it, and that's what I was going to say is like for me this is all style and no substance. You mentioned liking these ideas, and I think that's all there is are ideas, but I don't think they're executed well. Unfortunately, that comes down to the writing for me because visually, as you said, it's stunning. I think a big shout out to Kira Kelly, the director of cinematography, because it's amazing. I mean, she invented a camera for this,
Really?
and there are so many unique ways that she captures the tone of it. And I should say, the tone is all over the place, but I maybe I mean to say vibe because the tone is just like kind of up and down and up and down. But
Yeah. Here's the thing I wanted to mention to you, just in terms of being all over the place. Where you mentioned even in your description that he gets attacked before the combine, but it's like, did he? Did a crazy man with a giant sledgehammer really attack him? I actually at first thought that was just metaphor for like something happening to him. I have no idea. So it feels like in some instances this stuff is mystical and in his head, and then in other instances it's made real. And I kind of lost track of which was which, and I don't know if that's by design, but in terms of being a moviegoer, I didn't enjoy that. Like, I didn't like the fact that I wasn't even sure, am I supposed to believe these people in giant masks were real? And then up until the end, it creates the idea that yes, all of it was real. And I don't know how I feel about that. I like the idea better that thing represented something in terms of him having an actual attack from working too hard, from pushing himself in a certain way, and something happening to him. And part of what was strange to me as well is that they set this up. They set up the injury as a way as to why his draft stock might be going down and why he needs to go and train. But they're basically saying he has a serious head injury and it could be life altering if he gets hit again. And then he goes to this compound and is just getting slammed repeatedly with almost no consequence. And I thought that was a little bit, and they don't even explore that part of it in a way. Like they do some visuals, which are kind of cool, but it ends up just seeming not to matter or not as dangerous as they set it up to be because he's just taking hit after hit. So I don't know how I feel about that either.
Well, I think that that's another symptom of the writing because it's kind of set up that he's taking Isaiah's blood. That's the thing that, by the way, Jim Jeffries as the trainer is like fantastic.
I really wanted to get into that. Like, I was shocked to see Jim Jeffries in this, and I can't think of. I know he was in a TV show years ago called Legit that he co-wrote.
Right.
But other than that, like, I can't think of any acting work that Jim Jeffries has ever done. I was pretty surprised to see him in this.
I was too. He's coming
for Bill Burr's crown, I guess. I don't know.
Bill Burr just cast in the new Social Network.
I saw that
thing. But I think he's getting that blood from like day one. I mean, they show Isaiah having blood drawn. He says it's for when he has like a bad blood cycle or something. But at the same time, he's Cam is getting this blood from Jim Jeffries. So that seems to almost have like a supernatural ability to it. I mean, that's the way Marlon Wayans, who I think he's like 53 at the time of this film, could be.
Yeah, I definitely wanted to talk about that. One of the most impressive things is what good shape Marlon Wayans is in, because both of us are getting up there in age, and sometimes just walking is a problem. So watching Marlon Wayans get at it, I was pretty happy to see that.
It's really incredible. I mean, he is 8 years older than Dennis Quaid was when he filmed Any Given Sunday, but he looks 10 years younger.
Yeah. Wow.
Which is amazing.
That is something.
And speaking of Any Given Sunday, I feel like this is a great companion to that. And because of the stylization of it, the brutality of it. It really feels like that kind of
I
going a
agree.
little farther.
But
I would love that. What if this were in the middle of Any Given Sunday and it were Cap Rooney and Willie Beeman in this training?
I was gonna
Like,
say,
how
what
cool
would
would
be
that be?
funny, a good horror movie would be the idea that you're being attacked by the actual ghosts of football that he keeps showing in Any Given Sunday. Like, what if they were real and like you're being attacked by them and you have to navigate it while you're playing the other team? Like, that would be great. I would watch that movie. That would be a horror movie I would absolutely watch.
David Zaslav, are you listening? That's a good pitch. But well, there is one of those guys at the end. There's those ghosts of football
Right,
people
right.
sort of manifest throughout. But uh, yeah, I mean it really feels akin to Any Given Sunday, like far more than anything else we've
Yeah, definitely
talked
more than
about this month.
Wildcats.
But
We'll say
yeah, but that shows you how like teetering on the edge of horror Any Given Sunday was. I think
exactly.
because
Right, right.
you
And that's
know
just, and then again, to keep bringing up Any Given Sunday, but again, it shows you what a batshit nuts movie Any Given Sunday was, because it mixed like 7 movies in a one movie. And yeah, I mean, horror is it's almost horror as well. It's just everything in one.
I think the themes of this for me are that like how far are you willing to go? But of course there's how the league uses up players, like specifically black players, I think, and is sort of run by this secret cabal that is like the corporate head. And
Yeah,
I'm always up for like a movie like that. But to me, it really there are a lot of comparisons that I've seen people make to this, but to me, it really feels like Suspiria, the Dario Argento film,
yeah. I
where
was gonna
a
say
woman
that I saw
goes.
someone. I just came across that yesterday, and I was kind of
Okay.
thrilled when I saw it. I'm like, yeah. Once I heard that, it does really fit into that.
But I've seen people compare it to Black Swan. Justin Tipping, the director, had a lot of like direct influences for this. There's Alejandro Jodorowsky's The Holy Mountain, which, if you've ever seen a Jodorowsky film, it is incredibly visual, incredibly cultish. Stanley Kubrick is a big influence. The Shining. I see a little bit of Eyes Wide Shut in it too. Adrian Lyne and Jacob's Ladder was another
Oh yeah.
kind of influence on it. So he really wears those influences on his sleeves. I also see a lot of Get Out in it with the kind of like white people running everything. And that brings me to Jordan Peele, who produced this film. One of maybe 3 or 4 films he's produced over the past few years that he didn't direct. We talked about Monkey Man on the show. That was one of them. And he did Candyman as well, the Candyman remake. But they really pushed Jordan Peele in the marketing for this to the point where I've seen a lot of people mention that they thought he directed it. And that was like a big letdown for them. And, I think when you're doing that in the marketing, you don't have a lot of confidence in the film. And so they probably weren't expecting a big return on this, and it was poised to do very well going into the first weekend, but there was an embargo on the critics and the reviews that dropped on Thursday night, and then the box office just tanked because the reviews of this are very bad.
Mm.
So it's really interesting to see how that can affect projections for a weekend because it went like a steep decline
Yeah,
because of that.
and that led to Marlon Wayans actually releasing a statement about it, about critics and kind of asking people to decide for themselves. But yeah, it's hard to see. Yeah, it's fascinating to see in this day and age that can still have such an effect on people going or not going to see the movie. So that was a bit surprising. But yeah, when all the reviews are universally negative, and I'll just say as a side note, I was going to go see a Big Bold Beautiful Journey, and then I saw the reviews for that, and I decided it wasn't worth it. So yeah, I guess in some ways it does have an effect. I ended up going to see The Long Walk instead because I'd heard from other people that was good. So
Not to get off on what we watched this week, but A Big Bold Beautiful Journey is seemingly one of the biggest box office flops we've seen in quite a while. I mean, it's really unfortunate. You have movie stars in it. Kogonada is an amazing director. If you've ever seen Columbus, his first film, it's really, really beautiful. Uh, yeah, just Ooh, it's a tough weekend at the box office. I kind of wanted to talk about that a little bit, but
Yeah, I guess.
between this and that, it's bad news. But
And again, it's hard
uh,
because we always want to talk about supporting non IP movies, but again, if your non IP movie is a retread of something else and doesn't really feel original, is it really original? So that's what's so hard. Where it's like we want to support original movies, but neither of these movies are particularly original in their execution or the story. So can we really say that they just feel like retreads of something else?
yeah, and this, I mean, it feels like a lot of other things. I mean, in watching all of these football films this month, it is unique from them, but it still has a lot of those same football tropes in it, I think, without the big game in
Yeah,
a way.
I agree with that. But the other thing that we talked about it, and Jordan Peele, I guess just depends on the filmmaker. Like you're at this idea of a white people cabal or whatever it is, kind of controlling things. I don't know if he handles it with better humor. I mean, I wouldn't necessarily say subtlety because it's a horror movie, but there's just something about the tone that he strikes where for this movie, it not only, like I said, not only felt really heavy handed. I mean, like again, this the symbolism from Jump and just this really heavy handed nature with the costumes and the weapons and the table and the pentagram. It just feels like, okay, like could you make this any more overt? It's like the most overt thing ever. There's no subtlety at all. And again, I feel like it if that was the message you really wanted to push, you probably could have even done that a little better. But to me, starting off with a premise that I actually liked and wanted to explore and veering into something that feels so heavy-handed but also familiar, the white cabal is evil, just feels you have to come out with something new, something different to make it more interesting.
I'll tell you who does it new is Paul Thomas Anderson in One Battle After Another, but I won't say any more than that. I think there's so much symbolism in this from the beginning, and that speaks also to a theme of football as religion.
Right.
I mean, they're called the saviors, and his name is Isaiah White, which is interesting. But I think what Jordan Peele does so well in Get Out is there's kind of like a slow reveal of like a constant balanced reveal of what's happening. Whereas in this, it's like symbolism, 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 and then boom, third act, and it's like pure cult. And I think it's like you said, it's very overt and just unbalanced. And gosh, I really wish it weren't because I had high hopes for
Yeah, I
this.
agree. And the other part too, not to keep beating the same point, but they mentioned the father comes up at the beginning, and then we found that his father passes away, and then of course we find out in the third act reveal that they that this was also part of the plan when they realized that he was going to walk away from football, and so that happens. I don't again just a kind of heavy-handed thing where I really like the idea of studying the relationship between the father and the son, and the father being the driver. And then we find out that he basically makes a deal with the devil to get it to make his son great at football. And I'm like, I don't know. It just felt like a mess to me. I would have let because you don't necessarily need to make a deal with the devil to be a domineering father who pushes your son into sports. And that in and of
Look at
itself,
Earl
yeah, and
Woods.
that in and of itself could have been explored in an interesting way that you don't really get from this.
That's the thing is like his father is kind of I almost want to say a ghost kind of leading him through the thing because he leaves football and his father's death is what gets him back into it. So that's like the whole driving force. But the father's in it for like a second, and he tells Cam real men make sacrifices. So that's like a very clunk you over the head way of saying I'm going to give my life so that you become what you're meant to be. And yeah, it's just the writing. Like, I think the performances are great. The visuals are great, though there's a little too much style. I think a lot of these people come from television. Justin Tipping comes from television. Kira Kelly, the DP, and that length of a project maybe a lot of this style can work for, but I think in like an almost 2 hour film, that's a lot. It's a lot to look at with the cutting and the imagery.
Yeah, that's fair.
It's tough to drag that out over almost 2 hours.
Yeah, you talked about the
I
performances, and I do think that, again, there is a good movie in there, and really two good lead actors. I think that yeah, I think that both Marlon Wayans and Tyriq Withers do a really good job. I believe them both, and I think there's something great in that rivalry between the two of them as well, which I liked seeing that explored. And again, having it turn with the third act where it becomes like mystical and, like off the rails in a way, takes away from what was being built, which I think in and of itself wasn't interesting to look at. Like this idea of the old quarterback ceding to the new quarterback, which even Any Given Sunday touches on but doesn't really dive into. And I was interested in seeing more of that. By the way, side note, I love how Isaiah White has won 8 championships. And the reason he won 8 championships because it has to be one more than Tom Brady to make him the best. And I think I didn't notice that as well. So, yeah. So that's probably exactly where that's coming.
I kind of like that, but that's like inside.
Yeah,
football,
if you know football, you'd know
anyway.
Brady has 7, so he would have to have 8 to be the best. But yeah, so I like the idea of exploring that, like even what the old quarterback is willing to sacrifice to stay on top. I just the thought of him going there and this is old great quarterback trying to hang on is almost trying to sabotage the younger guy. I would have liked to see a movie exploring that alone, but then it veers into the blood and the savior and I didn't need any of that. I honestly didn't.
I wonder if Isaiah could have stayed on top for like 10 more years or so. It seems like this blood is like, the cure all for everything and like immortality almost. So could he have been like a 70-year-old Liam Neeson quarterback?
And why now? Like, why did they decide at that moment to pass the torch? We don't even really get into that. Like, there's no explanation of what causes the transfer. Cause you're right. He still seems more than capable. So why?
And one of the first things you see is him breaking does he break his leg in the first game that you watch? And I mean, that he plays for like 10 more years or something. So why stop now? Just keep going. But I like the sort of variation between him as the aging quarterback who wants to keep it and Cap Rooney in Any Given Sunday, who's basically like, I'm good. I'm ready.
Well,
to
that's because he doesn't have
goat
blood, so he can't. It's just
true.
him. Just him and his shaking hands. He just can't. If someone had offered him the ability to keep playing, like that, what do you have?
Just think if Shark had goat blood and if Latimer had goat blood, or Bateman and the Replacements, these guys would be just monsters.
Well,
forever.
It would be a horror movie because I'm pretty sure someone's head would get ripped off their body and just tossed to the side.
They all would have killed someone.
Yeah. Many deaths.
That's for sure. I've mentioned the writing several times, and I want to talk about the writers on this. Zach Akers and Skip Bronke, who also kind of come from television. They are the creators of a podcast called Limetown, which was like the #1 podcast on iTunes back in like 2016, 2017. And it's a great narrative podcast that's almost like Serial meets Welcome to Night Vale or something. It's about this NPR reporter who goes and investigates the disappearance of 300 people at this like testing site in Tennessee. And it was really well done, met with great acclaim. Facebook Watch turned it into a TV series with Jessica Biel,
which means that no one ever saw it, basically.
I watched it.
Really?
Yeah, I actually really enjoyed it. Don't sleep on Facebook Watch. I mean, they had a whole Elizabeth Olsen TV show. Sorry for Your Loss, which was amazing.
I get it now.
They had a Humans of New York show, which is the Brandon Stanton books that we publish that are wildly successful. So yeah, not too bad. But it had one season, this Limetown show, and then I think this is one of, if not the next thing they did after that. It's a jump from like streaming. It's an interesting progression of like this narrative podcast to streaming, a streaming show to
But it
film.
also goes to show you how long this was in development because
Yeah.
that it's in a decade in between these projects, basically, almost.
Yep. Yeah. So it's interesting. I mean, that's another sort of like short format sensibility coming to this. And I think that when you have to fill in that much more time, maybe that makes it more difficult to do in like a non-episodic thing. I don't know, but Justin Tipping, the director, also had a hand in writing it, and uh, I I think that so much time was spent from what I read on the style of it and all the little details visually that the script just really lacked. And I mean, that's kind of what we've said so far. And he just really leaned into how it looks, and like we said, it's stylistically just beautiful. There's he said he watched a lot of like 30 for 30 films for the first part to kind of get that sense for like, what's that, 10 minutes? Yeah, like you said, you would have wanted to see a little
Yeah,
more
and
of that
I honestly didn't
sort
get
of
that sense. Like, I
relationship.
didn't get a 30 for 30 cents from watching the opening of this
Yeah.
movie.
Yeah. And then a lot of Nike commercials, which
That
makes
I can
sense to
see.
me because
Yeah.
yeah. But and then all of the things I mentioned before. But I just, I have to lean into the visuals because the story, what there is of it, just really doesn't do it for me. And it's kind of a bummer because, like you said, great performances. You mentioned Marlon Wayans, but Tyreek Withers too. Really powerful presence. I think he has like Channing Tatum vibes to me,
That's a good call.
and
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 you can't, if taken into account, give him credit for the fact that he did play football in college, but he was a wide receiver. So he had to learn how to be quarterback to be believable in this movie. And I think he's one of the more believable quarterbacks that we've seen. I mean, he really, to me, looks like he can play. His mechanics look good. His arm angle looks good. Like, he looks to me like a guy who really can play. And he trained for like 3 months with the same quarterback coach, I think, who trains with like Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen, two of the best in the game right now. And you can see that he looks pretty solid in the way he goes about playing.
he's up there with Keanu as the actor quarterbacks. But yeah, he's really solid in this. I watched I Know What You Did Last Summer this week
Oh,
just
I
to
did
see
not see
him in
that
it.
yet.
It's a terrible film, but even in that, he has a really solid presence. He feels like the biggest standout to me. So I think he has a great future, and I think he's doing really good work. It's just that the material is not up to his level, I don't think. And the same with Marlon Wayans. I like the closest thing I can think of for Marlon Wayans to this is Requiem for a Dream, where it's not uh the comedy that you usually think of with Marlon Wayans, but he's just such a solid actor and does a great job in this. But again, it's just falls flat because of the writing.
Yeah, Marlon Wayans is another one of those comedy actors who I actually don't really love. I don't love much of the comedy work,
Yeah.
strangely enough. He's not my number one Wayans. Keenan Ivory Wayans will always be my favorite Wayans. And I'm Gonna Get You Sucker is probably still one of my favorite movies of all time, but we don't have to talk about that. But
Damon come in second.
yeah, and Damon second. But I didn't love the Scary Movie. I never loved Scary Movie. Like, and I really didn't like how to, what was it, the South Central movie that they made? Like, I don't love those spoof movies. I wasn't a fan of any of that.
But
But I
yeah,
think that Marlon Wayne's actually a damn good actor when he goes that route, when he does more serious work. So, credit to him.
I think the person who really gelled with the material was Julia Fox, who plays Marlon Wayans' girlfriend or his wife. She was like in this film, like in a way that they were. I mean, she's kind of totally all over the place and just really a lot of fun. I mean, it felt like a B movie performance, and I think that's what that role called for. And it was totally campy and just fantastic. Tim Heidecker as well, who plays Cam's agent. He is amazing in this, like really over the top. And I would imagine agents are probably like that.
Yeah, I actually didn't even realize that was him. So, like I kind of didn't recognize him. So there's that in and of itself shows it's pretty good work because it took me
Yeah.
until I saw the credits. I actually didn't realize it was.
He's really coming into his own as an actor. I mean, if you watch the old Tim and Eric stuff, it's like completely ridiculous. And I find it difficult to watch sometimes, but a lot of the things he's been in, I mean, this is the second film he did with Jordan Peele. He was in Us and did a great job in that. And he's not always funny. I mean, I think he can play like somewhat serious pretty well. So yeah, he's been a surprise to me over the last few years as an actor, and I'm really growing to like him after being kind of put off from the Tim and Eric stuff. Um, yeah, I don't have too much else to say about this.
Oh, there's no reason to beat. There's no reason to beat a dead horse on this. Yeah,
Yeah,
I think I maybe even liked it a
it's
little more than you, but I think the fact that I almost liked the beginning made the ending even more disappointing for me. And yeah,
yeah, I don't know. It's not doing well at the box office. I don't know. This is the second week, so last week it grossed $16 million on a $27 million budget. Not great, but we'll see if it has any staying power. Some of I mean, the critic reviews aren't great, but a lot of the fan stuff on Rotten Tomatoes is a little better. I mean, the Rotten Tomatoes scores are 31 critics, 57 audience meter. So, they're not
57 feels about right,
completely,
to be honest. Like it's
yeah,
mid. Like I didn't hate it. There were things that I liked. It wasn't overly long, so I didn't feel exhausted by it. It's only an hour and 40 minutes, which was kind of nice. So I didn't hate it. I just thought it was fine, and I didn't think too much about it after I left. That was kind of how I feel about it.
yeah. I'm actually glad I went to see it so that I could learn about Kira Kelly, the director, or the director of photography, and Taylor Joy Mason, the editor, because I think those are the two strongest parts of this. And I didn't know either of their names, so now I'm going to go back and watch some of the things they did because that's the real talent in the film to me was those visuals and just really, really good. So, and Taylor Joy Mason, the editor, she was like the assistant editor on Dune Part One
Oh, really?
and a lot of big stuff. So she also has a bit of a TV background, but kind of comes from being like a second assistant director or editor on some pretty big projects. So I really like what she did in this and look forward to seeing more from her. Yeah, I guess that's it for him. I'm actually kind of more excited to get to like a wrap up of the month. So uh, we've watched a lot of football films, and I thought it would just be fun to kind of rank them and then maybe give out a few prizes if you want to do that, like a few awards
I would love
to
to do
some
that.
things because it's so easy with football. And I don't know if we'll do it with any other months, but it, there's so many cliches in all of these films that really lend themselves to a comparison between each of them. And so, it would be fun. Like if you had to rank these films 1 to 5 this month, what would your ranking be?
Wow. If I had to rank them, that's really hard for me. Because I think in some ways I crapped on the replacements just because, as I said to you, I think that there's a much better movie to be told. But if we're ranking these movies purely in terms of like rewatchability, I feel like Replacements is one and Wildcats
Okay.
is second. Like I actually think
All
if I'm gonna
right.
go back and watch them again, those are the two that I probably would watch more than the others. And I think Any Given Sunday would probably be last because it's so damn long and it's exhausting. Yeah. Like after I
But
watched
then,
Any Given Sunday twice for the pod, I was like, I don't think I need to watch this anymore. Like I'm good with it.
so you would put the program over him, I
Yeah,
guess,
I put the
for 3
program
and
third.
4. Okay. I have a very different take on
I'm sure
this.
you do.
Uh, from worst to best, I think him falls at the bottom. I mean, there just wasn't like rewatchability. I don't know. I might
Hey,
watch it
just the
again,
fact
maybe
that
with the sound off.
is 4th for you, that's a victory as far as I'm concerned. Go ahead.
You know, it's tough for me to get past the sexism and racism in Wildcats, so that does fall 4th. But if I can ever put it in its era, I will watch it again because it was a lot of fun. And I do love the sort of female empowerment that comes out toward the end. Number 3, the top 3 was kind of difficult for me, but I think I have to put The Program at 3. Just because it's interesting and it's not necessarily fun unless you're just making fun of like what a hollow actor James Caan is. But I would watch it again, and I hadn't revisited it since I probably watched it in like 1997 or whenever it came out. So maybe another 25 years or something. But yeah, number 2 I thought was The Replacements because, like you said, it's just a lot of fun and it's really rewatchable. And I love Keanu, and I've seen that probably 5 or 6 times, and every time I go back to it, it's just still a lot of fun. It really has kind of a staying power for me. But that means number 1, my new favorite director, Oliver Stone. Any given Sunday, I will watch it again and again.
Crazy.
Because it's so insane and it's so much. It is like a maximalist film to the nth degree. And, I kind of love it.
You get no argument from me that it's a maximalist movie. That no argument.
That's I mean, I think it's just a lot of fun for as many flaws as it has. And this was kind of the feedback that we got on TikTok when I posted about it. By the way, your takes on this on TikTok are like on fire. People love it. So you're a TikTok sensation.
As long as I don't have to do any silly dances.
But people kind of agree. Like, it's not a perfect film. It's sort of nuts, but that's what makes it so fun. So that's that's what it is. Like I mentioned, I came up with a few categories just of fun things to talk about. So many great quarterback names in these films. And what do you think is, like, for you, what's the best quarterback name that we've seen? And I'll run down them real quick. We have Joe Kane in The Program. Kane is able. That was his slogan. Corny, but kind of fun. Shane Falco and Eddie Martell from The Replacements. Nobody really in Wildcats.
His nickname was Bird, which was nice.
Yeah. But in Any Given Sunday, you have Cap Rooney and Willie Beeman, and in him, Cameron Cade and Isaiah White.
Yeah.
What's the best name?
So I love the name Cameron Cade. I think that's a great name. I do.
It feels real.
It does. I like that name a lot. But I do think Joe Kane is the best quarterback name, because if you like quarterbacks, it's short, it's strong, kind of generic, and you can use it with a catchphrase like Kane is able. I think it checks all the boxes. Like, I just think Joe Kane is pretty good. I don't think you can get any better.
Okay. It's a good one for sure. All of these are actually really good, I think. I really like Cap Rooney because for some reason it makes me think of Captain America and Andy Rooney. Which nobody is going to get that reference.
Cap Rooney, to me, is the perfect name for a coach. Like a guy named Cap Rooney wearing one of those old school hats. Like that, to me, when I hear Cap Rooney, that's what I think of.
I can see that. Yeah. That's not my favorite. Also sounds a little bit like Cal Raleigh, who, we could talk about the Mariners all day, but for me, it's Shane Falco, just because it continues a line of really cool quarterback names for Keanu Reeves, coming off of Johnny Utah and going into Shane Falco. So that gets my vote. And that sounds like a cool athlete name.
Yeah.
Johnny
Utah is a better quarterback name than Shane Falco.
Yeah, that's true. Because it plays off Joe Montana.
Right.
Right. Who was the craziest lineman in all of these films that we watched? The choices are Alvin Mack from The Program, Steve Latimer from The Program, Danny Bateman from The Replacements, and Shark from Any Given Sunday.
So I'm going to eliminate Shark and Alvin Mack because both of them to me just seem like regular football players. Like that is exactly
Okay.
what that's what a linebacker is supposed to be. Like I think that they can't be the craziest because that fits. Latimer because he's
Even with that banter,
I think that's totally normal. Actually, I think that
do they do
yeah,
that?
and it's interesting because I was watching a thing where Patrick Mahomes like talks about football movies. And by the way, he said that Rudy was the only one he'd never seen, which I feel like is a crime, but we won't get into that. But they showed him Any Given Sunday, which he said was he loved, by the way. So you got that going for you. It's also his favorite movie. But he said that very much felt real, like the jawing at the quarterback. He's trying to rattle him. He said that it probably happens more after a tackle than before, but he said that feels really true to life. So yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
But so Latimer almost took it from me because he's got the face paint and obviously he's roided up and he seems like a crazy person. But I think it's Danny Bateman because Danny Bateman doesn't even seem like a football player. He seems like a person who should be arrested. So
ironic since he's a cop.
Yeah, so I think he's got to be the craziest lineman because I'm not even sure he has any football skill. He's just a literal machine of destruction. So I'm going with that.
You know, I'm going to agree with you because it's comedically aggressive and like not really menacing in the way that Latimer is or Alvin Mack is or any of those other guys. I just think it's really fun. And it's Favreau. I mean, seeing Jon Favreau, who you know now for what he's done in that role, which I kind of forgot about until I started watching it. That's kind of great. I mean, I like that's making it more about the actor than the role, but I think they go hand in hand. And seeing Favreau as a crazy person is kind of fun. So, best rivalry turned friendship. That's another trope that kind of happens through most of these. And the nominees are Ray and Darnell in the program, the two running backs who were vying for that number one spot. Bateman again and Wilkinson and the replacements. The rivalry was that one of them was a corrections officer and the other was a criminal. And Julian and Willie in Any Given Sunday, the LL Cool J character and the Jamie Foxx character.
So those are the only choices. I'm calling an audible. I think that
Bird
and Coach McGrath is my favorite rivalry turn friendship.
Ooh, okay.
I know, again, we talked about all this stuff. I enjoy that relationship. I think it's fun. I think all the other ones, I don't really care about Ray and Darnell and Bateman and Wilkinson is only touched upon, I guess. And Julian and Willie, I don't even believe that necessarily. I think that after that season, they're going to go back to hating each other. So I don't think that's ever going to mend itself.
Yeah, that's true. I mean,
but I feel like
that led to a lawsuit.
I feel like Bird and Coach McGrath, they form a real partnership, which helps that team win.
Was that a rivalry though? He didn't really seem to have any animosity.
That's a fair point.
He just didn't want to play.
Fair point. But you know what? I can say whatever I want, so I'm going with that one.
Stick with it. Okay,
that's what I'm working on.
You'll have to help me with this one because these are the only two I remember. But it could be. Oh, I didn't even say that. For me, it's Ray and Darnell, just because I think there's so much smack talk in that, and it's like one person trying to take the other one's spot, and I kind of like the aggression of that, and then to find that they actually come together at the end I think it's kind of nice. So I'm a softie about it, but the best rain scene. The only ones I can remember are the football war in Any Given Sunday, which is just like a beautifully shot battle of gladiators, and the track scene in Wildcats.
Well,
but don't forget this feels like a cliche.
Well, the program has a pretty good rain scene.
That's right. Yeah. So let's add that one to it. I
gotta go Any Given Sunday on this one. I mean, again, the rain was extra rainy. You got, a beautiful hit with the helmet coming off. I mean, that's just everything you want from a rain scene. So
yeah, so dramatic. This was a tough one for me because I've run marathons and I'll be running another one soon. And I really appreciated the endurance of Coach McGrath in that running scene. not necessarily about football, but I just appreciated someone running as much
I'm
as she
glad you
ran,
liked it. I would have been one of the first
and
people to sit
how
down. So that would have.
well, that's what I was gonna say is, like, they don't sit down, they just drop over, like somebody shot them in the leg or something. So, like, kudos to them for really just going until they can't go anymore because their bodies just completely stop. But she sticks with it. She has actually pretty good form for a runner. So, you know what? As much as I love Any Given Sunday and the drama of that rain scene, I think I'm gonna go with the Wildcat scene just because it's really fun and about
How
running.
about that?
So yeah, this one might be my favorite. It's the last one that I have. Best musical performance by a team. Now, you wouldn't think that a musical performance would be a trope that runs through a bunch of football films, but it kind of is. And the nominees are I Will Survive in The Replacements. They do the dance scene in the jail cell. Football, the LL Cool J song in Wildcats. They performed that on stage and then again at the end in that Super Bowl Shuffle parody. And the My Name is Willie rap video from Any Given Sunday. Not really a team thing, but it's still, a player singing. So what do you think is the best one for you?
My first vote was none of the above. That was my first thought. I don't think the music improved any of these movies. But if I had to pick, obviously I have to go with Wildcats because again, just the most ridiculous lyrics of any song I've ever heard in my life, and I love every minute of it. So I'm going with that one.
I am in the same boat. I don't think anything can top that. Not even close. I mean, that is so. They do it twice. They do it once,
And then the team does it,
at
yeah,
the
in
pep
Super
rally or
Bowl
whatever.
shuffle
Yeah,
style, which is unbelievable. But yeah,
and they get the coach involved.
yes.
If Gene Hackman were in the "I Will Survive" scene in Replacements, I might reconsider it.
I'm
But
pretty sure it was in his
last one's
contract
not.
that he would not have to do that.
Oh, I also here's an audible. I want to throw another one at you. Best team ownership. You have Cameron Diaz in Any Given Sunday. You have like the white cabal covered in pig masks in him. You have Jack Warden in The Replacements. Those are really the only ones that I think had ownership per se. Which one of those was your favorite?
Look, it's going to be Jack Warden all day for me because I love Jack Warden. And even though he was terrible, he's so damn likable. You still find yourself almost like him, even though he's the personification of bad guy owner, which is a hard thing to pull off. Again, that's,
Yeah. It's the rare instance where you're like kind of rooting for the owner because even though they're
I know,
terrible.
just because it's Jack Warden. I know that's what it is.
Well, I love a good satanic white cabal at pulling the strings mysteriously, but I'm with you. I have to go with Jack Warden for the same reasons. He's just so lovable, and actually his last film. So I feel like in memoriam that we have to just give it to him. So yeah, well that's it. This is quite a month. As we
Quite a
said, it
month.
felt very long, and it was a month of inches. The inches are all around us, and
I feel like I may have to get.
it felt like an inch.
I may end up getting tested for CTE when down the road, just for all the football movies we watched.
It was pretty interesting, though. I mean, for as different as these films are, it's really easy to see a lot of the similar beats that kind of run through them, and I think it's different than baseball in that that can be more of a like an individual kind of story, whereas this, for the most part, felt like kind of a team thing.
Yeah,
and yeah, I just thought that was interesting. I mean, it certainly filmed differently than like a baseball movie, and I really had a lot of fun learning about like the NFL film stuff and even the stuff on him where they what I didn't mention is that there was a camera they invented that moved at the speed of the football. So it was like 40 miles per hour on this rig that went down and followed the football. Um, so I kind of love seeing the inventive ways that you can shoot the same stuff. Oliver Stone, of course, has his own vision for how football can be filmed, and I really loved watching that. So yeah, I mean, it was fun, like, fun to learn about this stuff and a little long, but
But yeah, football is just very cinematic, and you could do it one or two ways. You do it from the outside, kind of looking in and do the beauty of it, or you can get deep in the trenches and see the ugliness of it. And so I think that that's something that football allows, which makes it work cinematically. But at the end of the day, I understand from watching these movies that I'm a sucker for a conventional sports movie. You know, I want to see my team deal with adversity, come together, and win in the end. And even Oliver Stone knew that, which is why Any Given Sunday ends the way that it does, because even he inherently knows that that's just who we are as sports movie watchers, that we want to see our team come together and win in the end.
yeah. So it was fun. I mean, it was a lot to learn, but I'm happy to close the door on it. So, that's it for football month. That's it for sports for a while, I think, but, uh,
Basketball season's
but
around the corner, but I don't think we're going to do that.
oh, yeah. Look, I'm invested in real sports and the baseball playoffs right now. It's a very exciting time for me. So that's all the sports I can handle for the next month. Hopefully, the next month. Um, so yeah, we'll wrap that up, and let's move on to what we watched this week.
Yes, since I mentioned the Hulu thing at the top, I ended up spending a lot of time watching Andor because I was debating whether or not I was going to keep Hulu. So it's like I should catch up on Andor so I don't have that hanging over me. So that's kind of what I've been watching because I never got around to it and it just kind of piled up on me. So I'm trying to dig my way through Andor. And I have to say, you know, the reviews for the first season are great. It started off very, very slow for me, very slow.
Yeah, me
And I
too.
found myself, I think that's why I stopped watching it initially, that I just felt like it was moving pretty slowly, but it's starting to kick in now. You know, once it starts to kick in, it starts to move, it gets better. So I'm enjoying that.
Yeah, I watched a few episodes of it, and for the same reason, I kind of ducked off of it. But people really seem to love it, so it's probably worth revisiting. Um, did I watch this week? I Well, I watched one battle after another last night. I went to see it
So I'm going
again.
tomorrow. So don't tell
Okay.
me any I haven't read a single thing about it. But you can
Wow.
just tell
Okay.
me that you liked it, but I don't want to know anything.
Yes, I liked it. I was thinking last night, and so I had seen this in March at a test screening, and couldn't talk about it, but I lived with it for months and months and months, and seeing it again, I didn't really see a lot of differences between what I saw back then and what I see on the final cut. But I walked out of the theater just feeling like electrified, and I couldn't think of another director who does that for me, really. Maybe in a different way, Jonathan Glazer. His films are not films that like lift you up to be excited when you get out of the theater. Like, it's pretty well documented that I love Paul Thomas Anderson. He's my favorite director. And this film is like right out of New Hollywood in my mind. It feels like a 70s film, just so beautifully crafted, very relevant today, even though he kind of like separates himself from that in the press, just so you're not thinking it's like an indictment of anything that's going on now. I mean, it's based on a Thomas Pynchon novel, so that's kind of the source material, and he always starts there and takes it in his own direction, like he did with There Will Be Blood and Inherent Vice. But it's just, it's really, really good. I think the projections for the weekend are $50 million, which is fantastic. It has a long way to go to make its money back, but that's a great start. And another really big hit for Warner Brothers as far as box office goes in that first weekend. So they're really on a roll. I was worried about this not getting that same amount of love that Weapons got or Sinners got, but I haven't seen a bad word about this on online. I mean, the Rotten Tomatoes score, I'm just going to look it up real quick because it's like astronomical. It's a 98% critics rating and an 88% audience rating.
Well, I mean, that is great, but so we were talking before about how we were surprised that the reviews for him definitely seem to have an effect on bringing people out for it. And now we're going to get to see the opposite of that and see whether or not the critics really drive people to go see a movie, because this is universally loved. People are already saying it's the best picture of the year by far. And we'll see whether or not that corresponds to people actually going to the theater to see it.
Yeah. Well, so far, I mean, with the 50 million projected opening, I think it'll exceed that. We'll see next week. But the people in front of me in the theater, there were probably like 30 people there on a Thursday afternoon. People in front of me were talking before the film. They said hello to me when I came in, which kind of freaked me out. I don't know why you would do that, but so, it's the second time in like a month where something like that has happened. I can't remember the movie I went to a while back, but there was a man sitting in like the handicap seats down below, and my seat was in the back. And I went back and sat down, and he just shouts up, "Would you like some of my pretzel, sir? It's very big." And he like held it up. And I was like, "I'm good. Thank you." That's such a nice thing to say.
I only get the
I
people
don't
who
need it.
take their shoes off next to me. That's all I get when I go in.
Well, apparently people just like are really friendly to me. Then they get on their phones and like totally annoy the hell out of me. But the people in front of me were talking, and they were trying to figure out the last Leonardo DiCaprio film they felt compelled to see in a theater. And they ended up on Titanic. So these people haven't gone to a movie theater to see a Leonardo DiCaprio film since Titanic, but this got them out there. So I think if that's any indication, it's really like people are eager to see it. And I hope so. I mean, it's already poised to be PTA's biggest grossing film, which isn't saying much, but um, I hope that it leads to a lot of Oscar buzz, and Sean Penn, he's electric in it. Like Leo is amazing. Everybody's amazing in it. So if you weren't planning on seeing it, which you probably were, but go see it because it's just that
I already have my
good.
tickets for tomorrow, so I'm pretty excited.
I got a ticket to see it on Wednesday at the Regal 14 in New York. That's showing it in VistaVision. It's one of the like 3 theaters in the country that's actually showing it in the format in which it was shot. So I'm very excited to see the differences between that, and I saw it in the Dolby, like the AMC Dolby Cinema, which is kind of like IMAX, I guess. And it was good. So that'll be 3 formats that I watch it in now after the first screening. Yeah, looking forward to it. Only other thing I watched was a TV show that I don't usually talk about them, but it's kind of relevant to us. First 2 episodes of The Lowdown dropped on Hulu. Did you watch them?
Haven't I? I'm actually holding on to it because I started watching Black Rabbit, which I'd also wanted to see.
Yeah, I want to start watching that.
I'm going to try and finish Black Rabbit before I start The Lowdown.
The Lowdown is really, really good. It's kind of like Inherent Vice meets No Country for Old Men meets The Big Lebowski. Like it is Southern Gothic. It's tonally incredibly funny, but also incredibly dark. Ethan Hawke is amazing in it. And, the only reason I bring it up is because friend of the show, David Tremblay, is one of the staff writers on it, who joined us for our No Country for Old Men episode, which I highly recommend going back and listening to. But this is, as far as I know, the first thing that he's written for television or film. And I just want to mention it because I want to shout him out, because it's really, really well written, and you can really feel like his style in it. And it's just so cool. It's so cool to see somebody we've had on the show go on to make something that is actually getting really good reviews. And yeah, highly, highly recommend you watching it. Ethan Hawke is probably my favorite actor.
Isn't it amazing that the career that Ethan Hawke's carved out for himself?
It's incredible. He'll do anything. Like he just wants to play, and he'll try whatever it is. And I think that's really commendable, because he knows he's in a campy horror film, but he's still going to give it like what it needs. And this new Richard Linklater film that he's in, where he plays, I can't remember which one he plays, but it's about Rodgers and Hammerstein.
Yeah.
Hammerstein. And he's like 4 feet tall in it and bald. And he's just so versatile and just so good, and just like really seems to have a passion for the craft. And it's really cool seeing him bring this character to life that David had a part in. So highly recommend that. All right, that's it for this week. Next week, we start a new month. We're going to talk about films that are scary films, but aren't really scary. Because, Mike, you're a fraidy cat, as you've mentioned on the show. So we are just going to look at things that are quote unquote horror movies that aren't really horror. And we're going to start with Freaky from 2020, directed by Christopher Landon. This is like a body swap film with Vince Vaughn and Catherine Newton. So that kind of gives you an idea of like what the tone's going to be for the month. And we have some pretty good stuff lined up, so you'll want to tune in. It's going to be a lot of fun. So be sure to join us then, and we will see you later. So long.
As always, thanks for listening to the Weekly Movie Throwdown. We'll be back next week with another exciting episode, so be sure to subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. And for even more from us, visit moviethrowdownpod.com or connect with us on social media. We're Movie Throwdown on Letterboxd and at Movie Throwdown Pod everywhere else.